Do you remember the way you felt when you bought your first car, moved into your first place, had your first crush or your first kiss? Or maybe your first was graduating, landing your first real job, or starting your first business. The point is, there's a first for everything. And it feels so nostalgic to look back on those moments that shaped us to who we are today. In today's episode, we're going to reminisce on the moment that made us moms. Whether you're holding your first baby or you've got a house full of kids, that first moment, that first season changes everything. It always starts with a first. And today's episode is dedicated to that firstborn child who changes it all. In my case, my oldest son, Xander. This episode is for you. Before we get into the episode, let me introduce myself. Welcome, mamas, to the Blessed as a Mother podcast. I'm your host, Tanisha, and I'm so excited to be spending this time with you. Here, we're all about building community around uplifting and supporting moms through the highs and lows of this journey of motherhood. Because in today's world, we can all use a little more community, a little more connection, and a little more support. Motherhood is a journey that can't be put into words. It's a beautiful, messy, emotional journey. And it all begins with the first, that one moment that changes it all. Do you remember taking your first pregnancy test and seeing those two lines stare back at you? I do. I remember the rush of emotions, excitement, disbelief, and maybe a little fear, if I'm being honest. It's also kind of funny when you go to the store and you actually buy a pregnancy test. And back then, when I got pregnant, self-checkouts were not as popular as they are now. I mean, we still had them, but they just weren't actually, I don't even know if we had them back then. Look, and that was only like 7 years ago. Isn't that crazy to think how much the times have changed? But back then, you get your little stuff, you go to the cash register. And I remember very distinctly going to a register because I was kind of embarrassed to buy pregnancy test. I think the funniest thing about taking a pregnancy test or even announcing that you're pregnant is you're kind of coming out you're having sex with your partner, which I know it's a natural occurrence. Everyone does it. But think about it when you tell your parents, hey, mom and dad, I'm pregnant. It's like telling your parents that you're having sex with your partner. I mean, that's just where my mind goes. I'm so weird like that, but it's just weird. But I feel like when you sit there and take the test, when I took my test, I feel like I just kind of knew. And I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I was like, oh my gosh, this is happening. And sure enough, it was happening. And then you take another test. Do you not? Does anyone else? You don't just take one test. Don't you have to take the whole box of tests that you bought? And then after that, I still went to the doctor to confirm. And basically they just had me pee in a cup and take another test. And it's you have to confirm. I had to confirm because I just was in disbelief. I was like, this is not real. And I mean, at the time we were actually trying for kids. So it wasn't a bad disbelief. It was just oh, this is so weird because I've never experienced this before. And I feel like when you experience something for the first time, there's always an element of shock and surprise. This is a crazy moment, right? And I feel like everyone feels like that. And then it's I still have my pregnancy test, and now I think about it and I'm like, wow, I kept a stick that I peed on. But to me, it's memorabilia, so I definitely keep those things. I keep every little thing from my kids. Not everything, but I definitely keep a lot of things, and the pregnancy test was one of them. The first pregnancy test is a whole thing. Do you remember hearing your baby's heartbeat for the first time, or the joy of that first ultrasound, seeing this tiny little thing growing inside of you? It changes everything. It literally changes your life. I do remember all of these things, and I remember thinking this is so real. You have your first ultrasound, you see this little thing, you're for me, I was what is it? Because anyone who goes the first ultrasound early on, it's not you see this baby in you. You literally see it's a little bean. Mine looked like a little jelly bean. It was so cute. I still have my baby's picture, but it's not you see a big head and a body. You just see this little tiny thing. And it's kind of cool to think about when you see these different stages of life of the baby growing inside of you, it's so crazy to think that my baby started as this little tiny little baby inside of me. And I feel like it's just something you can't even really explain. Like, you have to experience it. And when you see and hear your baby for the first time, it changes so much in you. And you are now responsible for like a whole nother human. You know, they say men have a lot of responsibility and like, you know, as far as, well, used to, you know, now today's Asian day and age has changed a lot about how we in society move. But it used to be the man had a lot of responsibility on his shoulders as providing for his household and being the man of the house. But when you think about it, like, the woman has, I feel like, so much more responsibility. We literally carry life. When you have your pregnancy test, you see the baby inside of you, you hear the heartbeat. It's like you are carrying life inside of you. You are responsible for protecting this little life inside of you. And it's just crazy to think of how much responsibility that is and how much weight that is on our shoulders as moms. It's such a joyous thing, you know, it's a very positive thing, but it can also, it carries weight. It carries responsibility, you know, and it's a responsibility that lasts a lifetime because, as you know, once your kid is born, it comes with a lot more responsibility, right? But anyways, let's take it back to where it all began. For me, being pregnant with Xander, it was a long time coming, right? We were together quite a while before having our first child. And when I found out I was pregnant, I remember feeling in shock and also completely like overwhelmed. And I just didn't know what to expect. And sometimes when you don't know what to expect, it can be very challenging. Like, being pregnant with him, everything changed. My body, my priorities, my emotions, and even my identity. For me, pregnancy was like really good. I do have like, obviously you're going to have some sort of like symptoms of pregnancy, and everyone's pregnancy is very, very different. But some of the things that I remember distinctly about being pregnant is the way that it affected me emotionally. I feel like in the first trimester, my biggest shift was one, from an emotional standpoint, I was so all over the place. It was like a roller coaster of emotions for me. And two, my energy level. Like, I was always really, really tired and really drained. I slept all the time. But one of the stories that really sticks out to me, so embarrassing. Okay. So it was in the early stages of my pregnancy, and I wasn't telling, you know, anybody that I was pregnant. I think I had told my parents, and that was probably it. And one day I was at work. Okay. And I don't know. I was so overwhelmed, and someone said something to me, and I kind of like had one of those moments where you just, like, I snapped, and I was like so upset. And I was like, look, I'm leaving. I don't even remember what I said, but I basically was like, look, I gotta go. I'm leaving. I'm not feeling well. I clocked out and I left my car. But the way I did it, like, I was so upset. And I remember I got to my car. I had to leave super, super quick because I was about to start crying. Like, that's how emotional I was. I was going to start crying, and I didn't want anyone to see me cry. So I hurried up, clocked out, ran to my car, and I was like, oh my gosh. As soon as I got to my car, like, the waterworks started happening. And I remember a coworker came out to check on me, and she was like, are you okay? And I was like, yes, I'm just going through some things right now. And I think I told her, like, I think I ended up telling her, like, look, I'm just pregnant. I'm mad emotional right now. And like, I can't be here. Like, I cannot. And I think that I really noticed the shift in my emotions, because for me, I'm normally someone who's pretty monotone when it comes to emotions. Like, not a lot of things bother me or get under my skin. You have to really, 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 really push me for me to be bothered. And so I feel like being a lot more sensitive, like, I just felt that. And even today, I feel like I'm a lot more sensitive than I was after having kids. I can cry on like the drop of a dime when I think about things that make me happy about my kids, or I like think, oh my gosh, when my baby was so small, back to when he used to breastfeed, and all these different like little moments when we slept together. Like, I remember all these little moments, and it like makes you like tear up. And before I wasn't like that. Like I'm like, oh yeah, cool, that's okay. But now certain things, like they'll get the waterworks going and I'm like, oh my gosh, not again. Why am I about to cry? Like I'm not a crier. Not to mention, like I said, I was so tired in the beginning stage of my pregnancy. I slept all the time and I hate taking naps. So I'm one of those people, I will stay up. You're like, oh, you gonna take a nap? No, I do not want to take a nap. But once you have kids, you learn to get sleep when you can. So you definitely will, like, if you don't like taking naps, you have to learn to like them when you have kids, because it's like you got to get your sleep when you can get it. And they say like sleep when your child sleeps, but that's not always realistic because there's like always something else to do. But sometimes you have to force yourself to put that other stuff on the back burner and get some sleep. When I look back to those earlier days when Xander was born, there were some challenges that I didn't expect, and a lack of sleep is definitely not something that I was prepared for mentally. The hospital that I went to when I had Xander, they had the nursery. So I was able to sneak like a little bit of hours of sleep in. But when I got home and you have that first night at home with your baby, oh my gosh, like you realize like the baby gets up like sometimes it seems like every other hour to feed. And you're like, oh my gosh, what is this? That's definitely one of the things I remember about Xander when he was a baby. He was one of those babies who would feed like constantly. He always liked to feed, and sometimes he would feed until he threw up. And it's like for me as a mom, like I don't know how much milk they're getting, so I didn't even know like whether they were full or not. He loved to eat, and he was so chubby and so cute. He was the cutest little things. But when I tell you, he looked like, wow, we called him the Michelin Man because he had all the little rolls. I know they say babies have rolls. I mean, he wasn't like fat, but he was definitely a little chubby baby. And I think it's the cutest thing. They're like, oh, don't call your baby fat. But a nice, plump, healthy baby is like the cutest thing when they are so small. Also, with my first child, with Xander, he had colic or the witching hour. And I tried everything. Between me and my husband, we tried everything. We talked to the doctor about it at his appointment. You know, we checked out Dr. Google. We did all the things that we could do. And sometimes you just wonder like if you're ever doing anything right sometimes when it comes to parenting, especially when you go through experiences like the witching hour, when they don't sleep through the night, when they just cry and you're like, what's up? I did all the things. Like they can't talk. So you're kind of left wondering what is going on? What am I supposed to do? What am I doing wrong? And you just question yourself so much as a parent. But through it all and through all the experiences I had with Xander as a baby, I was constantly learning. I feel like there's so many challenges that we don't expect, but there's also so much joy in experiencing all the first things with your child. I think that's some of the things I enjoyed most. I don't know. I feel like breastfeeding is not one of those things you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to enjoy breastfeeding so much. But once you like, you know, have that time with your child, I think it becomes something that is enjoyable for you. Also, I really enjoyed, so for my first child, we had the bassinet by the bed, but he never slept in it. We ended up co-sleeping and my husband was so against it. We had like the little outlet sock, so I wasn't so bad with it. We end up building like a co-sleeping crib on the bed, so that way, because I told him, you know, I don't want him to sleep in the bed, but the way that it worked, somehow he just never ended up in his bassinet. He always ended up on me, and I was like, look, he doesn't want to sleep in the bassinet. He sleeps just fine in the bed, so let's build this little co-sleeping bed. So we ended up doing the co-sleeping bed with him, and he had a love-hate relationship with it. What happened was I ended up sleeping diagonally into the co-sleeping bed and he ended up sleeping in my spot, but it made it so there was enough room for everyone to sleep comfortably and have space, and we didn't have a lot of problems when it came to co-sleeping. But I absolutely enjoyed having him in my bed most of the time. As he got older, it did become more of a nuisance, and still to this day, sometimes even at 6 years old, he comes in and sleeps in my bed. He'll come in for a little bit, and the days that sometimes, you know, I tell him to go back to his bed, but the days that I let him stay and I cuddle up with him, he does this little smirk with his face where he just kind of smiles, and he absolutely loves it. So it's nice because it's time for just him and I to spend together, and he enjoys it. I don't mind having him in the bed. Normally I just let him stay for a little bit and then I'll pick him up and go put him back in his bed. But it's so cute to have that moment cuddling with your child. It's just, for me, it was something I enjoyed. I know co-sleeping is not for everyone, but that is one of the things I really enjoyed about him. The other thing I enjoyed after having Xander is my husband had quite a bit of time off after having him, and so did I. So we spent a lot of time at home. And one of the things that we did to kind of make the time pass is we watched a TV series. And it was such a fun thing for me and my husband to do together. We are TV buffs. We love to watch TV together. So we had never watched Game of Thrones. And back then, there were like 10 seasons of Game of Thrones. So we literally would spend our day top to bottom. If we had the TV on, it was Game of Thrones. However, I was a little upset because if I fell asleep with the baby, or I had to like go change his diaper or give him a bath or something, my husband would continue watching the episode without me. And it would make me so mad because I was like, how are we watching this together if you're watching it without me? But that was the cutest thing. Between me and him, we would hold Xander and we would sit on, we had a couch. At the foot of our bed, we have a couch, and then we have like the nice little TV set up. So we would just sit there, watch TV, do our laundry, do all the things we had to do, like while we're watching our show. And like one of us would be holding Xander. Like Xander was always held. Xander was one of those kids that was constantly held. And I'm not going to lie, in the newborn stages, I definitely enjoyed holding him. And when you have one child, it's not so hard to hold them all the time. So he was definitely one of those kids that were never put down. Like I held him all the time. And it was also fun to like play with him. When you only have one child, it's much easier to have that one-on-one like kind of playtime. So when he would sit on his play mat, we would play together. I have videos of us like throwing the ball together. It was just a fun time to experience everything for the first time, and especially to watch their personality blossom as they get older is a really, really cool thing to see, like how he changes, what makes him laugh, what makes him smile, what he gets mad at, what he liked to eat as he started eating like solids. It's cool to go through that phase. So there's so many phases and so many firsts in motherhood that are really, really enjoyable. I think one of the things about motherhood is it doesn't come with a manual. And I feel like even if it did, nothing would have prepared me for all the changes that come along with becoming a mother. It's just something that you have to live through and you have to experience one day, one moment at a time. I feel like in all these moments with my first child, they shape me in ways that I'm still uncovering even to this day. Because with Xander, he breaks each milestone for the first time because he is the oldest. So like, for instance, one of the things that he's going through right now that is like hilarious is he's going through the phase where he is losing his teeth. Okay. And he lost his first tooth to me kind of early, but he also was one of the kids who had teeth really early. And so when I took him to the dentist or whatever, they're like, yeah, it's fine. It's normal. His teeth are, coming out the way they should be. And I was like, okay, cool. Cause I was like really, really scared about this. One of the things that definitely grosses me out is loose teeth. Like that is just one of the things that is like I cannot handle. So when he started losing teeth, I was like, oh my gosh, please let this come out easily. Like don't let it be a scene where, because back in the day, like, my grandpa would joke with me about like, you tie your tooth up to the door and slam the door, or like you bite into an apple and let the tooth come out. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about these things. And I'm like, I hope I don't have to do any of these things to my child to get his tooth to come out. Like do they just fall out? Like what is going on here? And for me also, I was looking at him the other day because he lost his two front teeth. And I took a picture of him and I was like, man, this is so like nostalgic. Does anyone remember being without two front teeth? He kind of looks like a vampire because he has no two front teeth and then the spacing is starting to widen out. So his next teeth kind of look like his fangs, even though they're not his canines. But it's just a whole thing. And I was like, this is crazy. Does anyone really remember being without teeth? Because I don't. And if I did, like, I just feel like it'd be so weird. But I had to watch myself because one of the things I was saying is I was talking about how like he had one front tooth fall out first and then he just had the littlest, tiniest front tooth and like his gap was widening and his tooth was spreading to the middle. So I was talking about how he had this little one middle tooth. And he started to get self-conscious about it. And I had to ask him, I was like, baby, is mommy bothering you by talking about your teeth? Because, your teeth are beautiful. There's nothing wrong with your teeth. And I had to tell him that to make sure he understood that, even though I was just joking, like you could tell like when something affects your child. And so I had to watch what I say around him because it was making him a little self-conscious. And I was like, oh no, I can't do that. I'm like the biggest cheerleader for my kids. So I want them to always feel comfortable. And I was like, the other day he asked me, I told my daughter, I was like, oh honey, you're so beautiful. And he's like, am I handsome? And I was like, yeah, Xander, I tell you that every day. And it's like, he couldn't go for just a moment with me giving a compliment to his sister. He had to have the compliment. So he cracks me up. He's like, no, you need to tell me too that I'm handsome. And so I'm like, every day I make sure I tell all my kids, oh, you look so nice. You look so good. That outfit is nice on you. I compliment my kids all the time. But he's one of the ones, he like really looks for that reassurance. So with him, I have to be extra diligent about giving it to him because that's like what he just needs for himself. Becoming a mother has taught me so many things, and there are a few key lessons that motherhood, especially that first season of motherhood, has taught me. I tell every mother this. I don't care what we're talking about. If you're a new mother, if you're a mother with multiple kids, you will understand this after you have your first child. But I literally tell every mother this. Your body is no longer your body after you have a child. After all, you just hosted your child for the last 9 months. You've spent months carrying, nourishing, worrying about them and protecting them. And even after birth, that connection doesn't just disappear. Breastfeeding, cuddling, constantly holding them, like they're always on you. But initially, when the baby comes out, like you give birth, like you're like, oh my gosh, you literally just had a human come out of you, right? When you're in the hospital, you have to get in the birthing position, right? You have the doctors coming in, you have nurses checking on you and checking in you, okay? Then I remember one of the things specifically for me when I had Xander is when we were in the hospital, we had trouble with breastfeeding and having him like latch onto me. We had some like complications, if you want to say. We had some difficulty and we struggled there. And I think being a first-time mom, a lot of moms struggle with having difficulty like their baby latching on. And it's a first for both of us. Think about it. As a first-time mom, it's a first time for you having a baby being fed from your breast, right? And the baby just came out the womb. So figuring out how to get the milk is like a logistical challenge, right? And so for us, that was something that we struggled with in the hospital. And I remember the nurse would come in and she would like, grab your boob and like help try to position it so that you can feed your child. And I was like, okay, this is so weird. Like she's just touching all on me. She's trying to help me out. And it's all for the greater good, right? But it's still just like mad weird because you're like, okay, this has been my body for me for like 20 something years at the point. And I'm like, nobody touches this body but me, right? Or whoever I want to touch my body. But now you're in the hospital with these strange women touching all over you. You have a newborn baby that you're just getting to know, this little stranger, because they just came out from inside of you. Like, it's just such a strange experience. And your whole body just changes the way it looks. Like you're not the same. Of course, some moms like snap back, but it's not to what they were before. When they say, use the term snap back, it's just like they lose the baby weight, but they are never exactly the same as they were before. Of course, you can work out and get your body to a good place, but like some moms may still have stretch marks, or if you had a C-section, maybe you still have like the scar where your baby came out. A lot of people complain about their breast being different after breastfeeding their children. The thing is, your body is not your own, and you just kind of have to learn to adjust to that. Another key thing that I think I've learned is you learn as you go. It's not like we go to college to become moms. We just do the best we can. We learn on the job as we go in each and every day. Your children will teach you a lot, and it's our job to listen and learn what they need. And if we're paying attention, Our children become our greatest teachers. That's kind of heavy, right? If we are paying attention, our children become our greatest teachers. Now, I want you to just think about it, because normally you're like, okay, I'm the one that's teaching my child. But in a lot of ways, our children teach us each and every day. Xander has taught me so many life lessons. When they're little, you let them teach you so you can learn how to parent them. One of the things I came across on social media a while back was a video about two children parented in the same household the same exact way, but they both had different outcomes to their lives. And the explanation was kind of like they're two different people and they kind of needed different things as they grew up. They needed to be parented different. I've noticed that about all my kids. There's a distinction in how I treat each of them. That's not saying I treat them unfairly, but I parent them in according to their personality, because they learn different, they function different, they each act different and have their own personalities. In a way, parenthood has shown me that it's not all about me, and I kind of had to learn that, because as a mom, like, I want this done my way. We have to get ready my way. We have to do this my way. And I had to learn that that's not the right way, in my opinion, because my kids want to do things their own way. And as long as they're doing what I need them to do, why does it matter the way in which they're doing it? You have to teach them and not just do for them all the time. You have to let them be and kind of guide them. It's like a shepherd guiding their sheep. Does it matter if they walk straight or they walk like this? If we're getting to the same destination, we're getting to the same point. Does it really matter the way in which we go, as long as we're not going like out of bounds? One of the last things I'm going to share is to give yourself grace, as they like to say. We try our best to be the perfect parent, but the truth is that perfection doesn't exist in motherhood. You are human and you are bound to make mistakes, and that's okay. I like to say, no matter how good of a parent you are or you think you are, your kids will always find something you could have done better. And that's not to say that you're not a good parent. We are all human and we see things in different ways. So you might think, oh my goodness. Okay, even like with Xander, when I complimented his sister and not him in that moment, he saw it as I wasn't giving him a compliment, but I looked at it as like, I give you a compliment every day. I say something kind about you every day. But in that moment, he wanted to be complimented because that's what he wanted and that's what he needed. And sometimes we're not psychic. Like we're not mind readers. We are not able to read everything that our children need if they don't speak up and tell us. Or sometimes they're not able to speak up and tell us, when they're so little, or they just don't have that same understanding that we have. So you have to kind of give yourself grace on the parenting aspect. You are doing the best you can. You are giving it your all, and you are learning. I get frustrated all the time with certain things that my kids do, and I have to learn to check myself all the time. But then at the same point in time, I have to give myself grace, because I am not a saint. I do the best that I can. I show them all the love that I can, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to get irritated or upset sometimes. But I have to kind of realign myself and reevaluate like what I'm getting upset with, and kind of put myself in check. Like, okay, you can't be getting upset about that. It's not that serious. Like, they're kids. So I give myself grace, and, I get back out there and show up each and every day for my kids. And that's kind of what's most important. Okay, so here's some words of encouragement for us moms. Let go of what was and embrace what is. Motherhood changes everything. You are going to have a new normal, and that's okay. I still struggle with this, and I'm 3 kids into my motherhood journey. Letting go and shedding the old you is like one of the hardest things that you will have to do when you become a mother, because people think like, oh, I can still do this, this, and this, and this. And yes, you can do all the things that you wanted to do, but what that looks like might change, and the way you go about that might change. You have a whole nother person to think about and consider all the time. So it kind of changes the perspective on like what you're able to do and how you're able to do it and how you move throughout life. So a prime example is just getting up and getting ready for the day. I have to get up, get myself ready, and get 3 kids ready. Even if they know how to dress themselves, I still have to do their hair, make sure their teeth are brushed. And I was thinking the other day, because sometimes it's a struggle to embrace what is and to embrace the season of motherhood that you're in. For me, I have 3 young children. I have a 6-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1-year-old. It's like before I had kids, I had my social life, my friends, places to go, things to do. I could just run out to the store so easily, go get what I want, go shopping. And it's like now what I do for me, I do for 3 people. And sometimes there's people in your life that aren't going to understand that. And they don't understand quite what you're going through. That's why there's like that joke of like when you have another mom friend and you call them back like 3 weeks later, like they just get it. They understand. And that's how I am sometimes. It's like I have the phone right in front of me, right? I'm about to text you back. My child is standing on the table. Am I going to text you back or go get my child off the table? I got to go over there. And by the time I go do that, someone else wants a snack and someone else is doing this. And I just kind of totally forget and miss the mark. I have to do what I do for myself, for me, plus 3 other people. I brush my teeth, plus 3 other people's teeth. I cook for myself, plus 3 littles. Well, and my husband, I guess you could say, so 4 other people on that one. I put myself to sleep and 3 other people. So everything takes so much more time when you're a parent. This is an interesting one, that an example of embracing what is, right? For my oldest, Xander, he is definitely a socialite. He loves to talk to people. He loves to go out and about, and he's always constantly running his mouth. Now for me, I'm a little more of a recluse, I guess you could say. Like I kind of more keep to myself. I'm more reserved. If I click with you and I vibe with you, I would definitely talk your ear off. But if I don't know you, like it's like a hi and a bye, maybe a quick compliment. Like if I like your hair or your shoes or something, I'm not afraid to do that. But I'm not having long drawn out conversations with you. But my toddler is. So I had to learn to kind of embrace the fact that if we're going out and about, I have to put my social hat on, because I'm going to be talking to people, because my 6-year-old is out here talking to everybody. He is having full conversations and telling all my business to a perfectly good stranger, because he's a socialite like his daddy. Okay. He got, as my mother-in-law would say, he got the gift of gab. And I don't stop him, because I know that that's in his personality. That's a good trait to have, and it'll get him very far in life. So I encourage him to do that, but it's something that I have to like embrace what is and embrace what's about to happen and prepare myself, because I am not that person. He is. So that's one of the, I don't want to say it's a challenge, but that's something where I just have to like change my mindset and embrace the fact that my baby is a socialite and I am not. So it's kind of funny. There are different parts of motherhood that you just have to embrace, and you'll find a takeaway from everything. For me, I find that takes me out of my comfort zone, and I think that it's good to be out of your comfort zone and in times. So I embrace that. Another thing, you will hear this all the time in some form, but for me, the way I'm going to word it is enjoy the little moments. Time goes by so fast, right? And it's very, very important that you enjoy these little moments. And sometimes that's easier said than done when you're running on like 2 hours of sleep, you're covered in spit up, or maybe you're further in the journey like me, and your kids are talking back to you and they have that little sass, especially Xander. He definitely has that little sass. Well, I'm going to just go do this. And I'm like, excuse me, who are you talking to? But there's so many little moments throughout the day that you just have to find enjoyment in, because before you know it, they're like my baby. They're 6 years old. I still remember when he was a tiny little thing. I was always like, man, I can't wait till he gets older. I can't wait till he is bigger and he can talk. And now some days I'm like, man, I miss the days when he just cried and drank milk all day. I kind of miss the days where I didn't even have to try to put them to sleep. They would put themselves to sleep because they would just be in my arms. I miss the days when they were so little that you could just swaddle them and hold them in one arm, And now I'm like, man, I look at my baby. I tell him, you're so big. You've gotten so big. I remember when you were just in my tummy. And to think how fast that time has went by. It's crazy. And when they say it's like the blink of an eye, it really is. I can close my eyes and remember the day that I was at the hospital giving birth to him. And I could remember some of those things so vividly. I can remember when he came out and I saw him for the very first time, the way I looked at him, and the little moment when he wrapped his fingers around my pinky and just held my one finger and looked into my eyes. And it's crazy, those little moments that it's important that you don't take for granted, because they go by so quick. This is for my moms who, have been in the game for a while. You've been on this journey of motherhood, no matter what age. Maybe your baby's 1, or like me, 1, 3, and 6, 10, high school, teenager, whatever. You are doing better than you think. You've made it this far in your motherhood journey, and you continue to put in the effort each and every day. You listen to motivational podcasts like this. You take them to their doctor's appointment. You take them to school. You get them dressed. You make sure they have the things they need. You are doing so much for your kids. You give so much to your kids, and you are doing better than you think. No matter what season of motherhood you are in, I want you to say this affirmation: I am enough in this season. Let that sit with you, because each season requires a different version of us, and we are constantly learning and growing. But we as moms are enough. You are enough. Motherhood requires so much of us, and we give so much of us to our children. And sometimes you just have to think about it. You are doing great. You are putting in the work. You are putting in the effort, and you are doing a good job. You are doing better than you think. Motherhood is full of first. It's a journey of endless beginnings. It's a journey you live through one day, one moment at a time. And I am blessed to have started this journey with my firstborn, Xander. You have made me the mom that I am today. With that, I encourage you to reflect on your own journey. How has your first child, your introduction to motherhood, changed or shaped you in the woman that you are today? Thank you so much for joining me in today's episode. Please join our community by subscribing to our YouTube channel, and catch us on Instagram and TikTok at blessed.as-a-mother. Also, if you know another mom who would benefit from today's episode, please share, okay? I'm trying to grow this community and make it an uplifting place for all us moms. There's so much change that occurs after becoming a mom, physically, mentally, emotionally. The dynamics of life change drastically. And in next week's episode, it's going to be all about becoming her, the mom edition, of course. Until next time, be blessed as a mother. I'll see you guys on the next one.